Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I hope you are having a fabulous day. It's Wellness Wednesday, and wellness is something I'm still struggling a little bit with here because I still have a lingering cough and a lovely condition called costochondritis, which means my ribs are really sore. So I apologize for being just a couple minutes late. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, but I'm on the mend. And I feel great. I just have these lingering things that just don't want to quite let go. In any case, it's Wednesday morning. It's Wellness Wednesday. I hope you are having a fabulous morning already. And if you're just getting started, just rolling out of bed, then you've got the whole day ahead of you. And I'm super excited that we are here. So if you're here, let me know you're here. If you don't see this till afterwards, hit hashtag replay in the comments or ask questions or make comments. Facebook doesn't always show me all the things. So if I don't respond to you or don't acknowledge you, it is because I have not seen it, and I will definitely respond afterwards. Good morning, Miss Nikki. Today I am your reindeer Donner. I have a couple of people that call me Donner on a regular basis, so this seemed appropriate. Good morning, Danielle. So last week we talked about knowing your worth. And before I move on, a little bit of history. If you're just stumbling on my page, I started Wellness Wednesday because I've been on a lifelong journey with anxiety and depression, and I've learned so much. And the biggest thing that I've learned is that sharing things with others helps us to learn tips and tricks from each other. So when I get on here and I talk about my experiences, I also look forward to hearing your comments, or seeing your comments rather, and any information, tips, got to straighten out my antlers here, that you have to offer, because any of those could help somebody that hasn't tried them yet. So that's why I started Wellness Wednesday. I'm so glad that you're here. And again, last week we talked about knowing your worth. If you didn't see that video, let me know. I'll drop the link to that video in the comments so that you can check it out. But since it's the week before Christmas, exactly a week before Christmas, y'all, this is a time for giving and reflection, right? And knowing your worth seems like a natural lead in to discovering a gift that will keep giving back long beyond Christmas. And that is the gift of your purpose. The meaning of life, and you've probably heard this quote, the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. Grounding techniques are huge for those with panic disorders. Yes, I've talked about grounding a few times. Probably going to dig a little bit more into that shortly after the first of the year, Miss Nikki. So if you've heard this quote, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. That quote is often attributed to Shakespeare or Picasso. However, nobody's really sure, and the concept may have actually started with a 1993 book of meditation by David Viscott. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, who made a statement in one of his meditations or in his book that the purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop it. And the meaning of life is to give it away. So that's a little bit longer version. I will post that quote, Nikki. And I find that interesting because usually we just hear the shortened version. That's the first part and the last part. And we don't always hear the middle of it. But today we're going to reflect on our personal gifts and how fulfilling it can be to share them. So if you have a notebook or a journal, piece of paper handy, you might want to grab it, and let's approach this with an open heart and mind. So what is your gift? Well, we often assume when we hear this in this context that we automatically assume that's our skills or talents, and that can absolutely be true. However, they can also be qualities like patience, empathy, humor, or creativity. So I'm going to ask you these questions, and this is why you might need a piece of paper if you want to write these down. And of course, my lives are always here to go back to, so you can, if you don't get it because I talk too fast, you can always go back and watch it from the beginning again later. So my questions to you today are, what comes naturally to you that others notice or compliment? What do you feel the most in flow, fully engaged, or alive about? In other words, what do you feel most passionate about? Where does your passion show when you're talking in conversation? And And if you could do one thing all day, every day for just simply for the joy of it, what would that be? So these are questions to ask yourself and write down the answers and reflect on those for a bit today. For me, it first started happening with wellness. And it was kind of an accidental discovery, if you will, because as I started to run, and as for those of you that don't know my story, I started to run, and because a friend talked me into helping her train for a 5K. And then as I started to run, I started to notice that I was feeling better about myself in general, and that my anxiety was seeming to be a little bit more under control, and that I wasn't as reactive to things. So, sorry, I don't usually have drinks while I'm on here, but if I'm drinking, I'm not coughing. So, hot lemon water it is. So I started running, and in the process of running and wanting to improve my running, I started to change my diet to feed the runs. Little did I know that in the process of changing my diet to feed the runs, I was also feeding recovery. I started to feel better in general. Less depression, less anxiety, less reactivity. Everybody started to notice it. Well, the more I learned about food over time, and the more I learned about what some foods do to us in a negative way and what foods help us in a positive way, the more I would just light up when I would talk about it. I actually joined a company to try to sell their product, and I just couldn't do it because once I learned how great the program was, I just wanted to tell people how to do it without charging them. I couldn't bring myself to try to sell it. I wanted them to do it. I wanted to just help people live better and live healthier. So that's kind of where that started. And then as I began my recovery process, partly because of the exercise and the food, but also because I entered school and started to learn other things, I became more focused on counseling and helping people in other ways. And then when I started my online business, I started to have to go live with that a lot. And that's how we got here, because I got more comfortable. The more I practiced, the more comfortable I got in a live format, and the more it was on my heart. And I mean on my heart. By on my heart, I mean a constant thought in my head that I could not get rid of, that I needed to be live on Facebook sharing this information that excited me so much. And that's how we got to Wellness Wednesday. So that's just a little example of how things like that can happen. And then once I reached that point, as much as I loved my job, I was a little burnout, but I still loved it and I loved the people. I could not stop thinking about continuing my education to become a licensed counselor. At one point I was happy with my bachelor's degree, and then just could not get it off of my mind to keep going. And so now I'm a grad school student studying for my Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. So that is how I kind of got where I am and how we got here today. But like me, sometimes we don't find our gifts on our own. They are kind of revealed to us through experiences or challenges. And depending on your beliefs, you can do what you like with that. I'm not one to push one belief system over another here on Wellness Wednesday, but I'm going to give all that. If you followed me at all, you know that I am a believer, and I'm going to give all that credit to God for mine, because I know and I can pinpoint when I look back ways that it was like a flashing neon sign for me that this is what I needed to be doing. So sometimes we don't see those gifts clearly, but they're there. And if we ask for clarity, whatever that looks like for you, praying or meditating on it, we are so often surprised at what comes to mind when we start focusing on it and asking for guidance. So again, whatever your beliefs are, the universe, God, whatever, if you're asking for guidance and you're meditating, praying on it, thinking about it, you might be surprised at what you find and at what you learn. So I encourage you then to comment in the comments or write down. You don't have to do it in the comments if you're not comfortable. But write down for later reflection 2 to 3 possible gifts that you possess, and take some time to truly reflect on them today. You don't have to comment them. I would love to see what you think that 2 to 3 of your gifts are. so that I can encourage you. But comment them or write them down separately for later reflection today, and take some time to really look at those and maybe do a little word association, whatever comes to mind when you think about those things, those gifts. So what does it mean to live with purpose? Often it's not a big life mission. It is a daily practice or a weekly practice. Sorry, guys. Of small, consistent actions like kindness, encouragement, or service. One of the first gifts that I learned that I had was that of being an encourager. I love to encourage people. I love to be a cheerleader. I love to see people succeed in whatever it is. I don't feel like I'm in competition with anybody. I mean, I do a little bit sometimes, but that's just my natural competitive nature. And it's not in a bad way. It motivates me. I harness it for motivation. But a lot of times it's just small, consistent actions like kindness, encouragement, or service. Not a big life mission. And it doesn't have to be huge and gigantic and in everybody's face to make a difference. In fact, most of the time, I find that the people that are making the biggest difference are the ones that are behind the scenes, and they're just quietly working. And we often don't know half of what they're doing until they've already done it. An example is the organization that I used to represent that started the mobile shop bus. We had a small handful of us that just were intent on making this into something that would eventually lead to having some kind of a construction class at the high school level. But there was one person who frequently missed a meeting that was just always working in the background. And that person applied for a grant that we ended up getting that enabled us to finally finish and wrap our bus so that it was literally a sight to behold on the road, and it got everybody's attention. And that's what finally started conversations with the local newspaper and the local school board and all of those things to start the ball rolling. And we never even knew that person did that until it was done and we got that grant, and it was amazing. So like I said, oftentimes the people that are making the biggest difference are not the ones out in front. They're not the ones, on the stage. They're the ones that are in the background doing the little things, the little consistent things every day. That, like I said, like kindness, encouragement, service, that are just pushing the needle forward. So know that it doesn't have to be a big life mission. Know that you can make a difference with little tiny things. And then once you discover your gift, you can give it away all the time. It's not just for Christmas. It's for all the time. You can give it to everyone, every opportunity you get. So what does that look like? Well, that can look like service. How can you use your gift, whatever you've written down that you're reflecting on today? How can you use that gift to support someone else this week? If your gift is patience, maybe it's being more present with the family, which presence with the family is something we could talk about completely separately, especially at Christmas, right? So if your gift is patience, if your gift is empathy, maybe you could help with a support group. To help, maybe there's a support group that you can lend assistance to. There's other opportunities there for gifts of empathy. I know a woman who has an amazing grief coaching business that was born out of the loss of her son, because she has now has this thing that she's learned, this thing that she's good at, and she uses her recovery to help others to find it. So again, it just depends on what your gift is, but a lot of times it looks like service. Maybe your gift is just helping. Your gift is time. So you're at a community center helping with Christmas dinners or Thanksgiving dinners or things like that. Maybe your gift, like I said, during the hurricane season here, when there was so much flooding, I saw one or two people that were consistently all over Facebook, rounding up donations, offering to pick them up, telling people where they could drop them off, all kinds of donations for the people affected. So you would say she maybe had a gift of coordination, of planning, of arranging. So there's all kinds of gifts that can be used. And a lot of times service is one of the ways that you do that. Another way you can share your gift is sharing. And that seems, odd, but you can share your gift with a larger community. A creative person might offer more ideas at work. I have, for some nonprofit organizations, handled their social media. Sometimes, some of them I still do. You might be able to make something happen in your neighborhood or online. These are all amazing ways to share your gift, depending on what it is. Maybe you have a gift of knitting, of making things. Good morning, Miss Ann. And there's ways that you can raise funds for organizations online with those. I authored a chapter in a book and used sales from that book as a fundraiser for NAMI, which is still an option if anybody wants a signed copy. Then message me and we'll talk about that later, or drop a comment and we'll discuss that later. But there's a lot of ways that you can share your gift that can be used to better your community or your neighborhood, or your workplace or whatever. And then another way, I mean, there's a lot of ways, but the top three, this being the third, is mentorship. Who in your life could benefit from your gift? Who can you teach? Can you teach others patience? Can you teach others creativity? Can you help them with problem solving? Can you mentor someone who wants to be on the same journey as you or a similar journey, but is maybe not as far along? Those are all ways that you can share your gift all the time once you figure out what it is. So it doesn't just have to be a Christmas gift. It can be a gift every single day if you choose it. So how can you give your gift away in the coming week? That 2 or 3 things that you wrote down that you are good at, that you feel are a gift that you have to offer. How can you give that away in the coming week? Sometimes opportunities are all around you and they're just waiting for you to see them, and you have to stay open and be guided to them. And that's what I talked about when I mentioned prayer or meditation or talking to the universe or whatever your belief system is. If you stay open and you trust that you'll be guided to it, you will. And it's kind of like the red car effect. And I've talked about this before too. If I ask you how many red cars you saw on the way to work or on the way to the store today, you would probably have no idea. But I guarantee you, on the way home, you're going to notice every single red car because it's on your mind now. And I brought it up and I asked you. So now you're going to notice every single red car on the way home. You may not notice any other color on the road, but you're going to be like, oh, there's a red one. There's a red one. There's a red one. It's the same kind of concept because what we focus on is what we will see. So if we are thinking about our gift and how we can give it away, I promise you, you're going to find ways to do it. Those doors are going to open for you if you're looking for a way to give your gift away. So where did your gift come from? That's an important question. If you've ever wondered if you have unique abilities and you just don't know how to explain it, or unique qualities, there's a lot of things that because of the way I grew up and because of my experiences that I should not have or should not be able to do. Exactly, Carla. Looking for those red, good morning, looking for those red cars, so to speak. It's one of my favorite analogies, and it works, I promise. But if you wonder where those unique abilities or qualities come from, you might just assume they're accidents. And depending on your belief system, they might just be accidents. But it's quite possible that they're not. In fact, it's quite probable that they are not. Good morning, Miss Kelly. Again, depending on your beliefs, it's time to show gratitude. Once you've figured out what those gifts are, if you're not 100% sure what they came from, if you're just assuming they're accidents, go ahead and show some gratitude. And gratitude's a really important thing all the way around. You can write a short thank you note to the giver, whoever that is, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's God, whether that's life, whether that's the universe, someone who mentored you. Sorry, guys. Someone who helped you develop it. That's open to your interpretation. But the point here is gratitude. Not just for the gift, but how you've been able to use it to impact your life and to impact the life of others. So I have always been very empathetic. Yes, whatever your belief system is, Kelly, wherever you believe that gift has come from, show gratitude. Write a short thank you note and then just rip it up or whatever, or tuck it away. But, or write a note, put it in your gratitude box. I've talked about those before. But again, not just for the gift, but how you've seen it impact your life and others. So I was going to say something here. Oh, I've always kind of had the gift of empathy. And quite frankly, in such a strong way that at one point in time in my life, I was very scared of it. I was very intimidated by it. I would be very stressed out by it. The way that I could just kind of read the room and pick up on things that other people couldn't pick up on. And would absorb people's emotions and have difficulty separating those out. And I used to be very intimidated and very scared of it. And I used to think it was a curse. I really used to think it was a curse. And on more than one occasion, I would say, God, why did you make me this way? I don't want this. But over time, as I learned more about it and I learned how to separate my own emotions from those that I was absorbing from people around me, I learned that it really is a gift. And I've learned how to not be intimidated by it, not be scared by it. And I see the same gift in my daughter and my grandson. So I try to encourage them. I try to encourage expanding that and embracing it instead of being fearful of it. Because some of the things that I've experienced can be pretty fearful. So again, whether you attribute your gift to God, to life, to Mother Nature, as Kelly said, to the universe, to a person that you believe helped you develop it or gave you that gift, whatever your interpretation is, the most important thing is to find gratitude for it before you start giving it away, or while you're giving it away and after you're giving it away. And again, not just for the gift, but for how you've seen it impact your life and the life of others around you. So those are the most important highlights. So I have some challenges for you all today, because it's the week before Christmas and because we're talking about this amazing gift that every single one of us has one. I promise you, every single one of us has a gift. We haven't all found it yet. We haven't all discovered what those gifts are. So my challenges to you today are, and this is why I told you to grab a piece of paper, so you may have to go back and watch this over again. And I actually think I'm going to run pretty close to on time, so it won't be too bad. Is number one, identify one of your gifts and give it away today. By Miss Kelly, be sure to come back and check out the end. One of the things I'm going to challenge you to do is identify your gift and one gift and give it away this week, whatever that gift is. And if you feel up to it, if you're brave, share your insights on Facebook and hashtag my gift of purpose or tag me in it just so that I can see it, because I would love to see what you discovered your gift is. Maybe you already know. I'm glad you're staying, Kelly. Maybe you already know. And I'd love to see or know how you're sharing it. If you're not comfortable sharing it on Facebook, then shoot me a message and let me know what you think your gift is or what gift you discovered about yourself and how you gave it away this week, because I would love to see that. So even though I told you to write down 2 or 3 things that you think are gifts, just one this week. Identify one gift and give it away this week. If you want to, if you're brave, share it on Facebook. Hashtag it, my gift of purpose. Tag me in it so I can see it. Most importantly, be open to opportunities to give that gift away when you least expect them. Be ready, because they're going to show up. If you're focused on ways to share your gift, those opportunities are going to show up like you've never seen them before. You are gifted in ways that only you can be. So share your light with others, because someone out there is waiting for your gift. And I want you to remember these things. Everyone has unique gifts, and discovering them brings meaning to our lives. And it brings meaning to the lives of those we share them with. It doesn't have to be a big grand gesture. It just has to be a simple, intentional action. And the greatest fulfillment comes from giving our gift away to our family, community, and world. So that's what today is all about, is discovering what your gifts are. We all have them. We all have at least one unique gift that is designed, it is purposed to be given away. And it's not going to be something you can wrap up and put under the tree. It's not going to be something you can stick in a stocking. It is going to be something about you, about your personality, about your character, about your abilities that you can share with others. And that is the purpose. Once you've figured out what it is to start honing that and developing that and giving it away. So that is my challenge to you, is discover that gift, identify that gift, and give it away to someone else this week. And that is the very best Christmas gift that you can offer, or one of the very best Christmas gifts that you can offer. And it is also a gift that you can continue to give throughout the holiday season and for the rest of the year. And you can continue to develop that and continue to share it with others. So with that said, again, just remember that you are gifted in ways that only you can be. And I'm going to get off of here because this is starting to ramp up. You're gifted in ways that only you can be. Share your light with others because someone out there is waiting for your gift. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of it is to give it away. And somewhere in the middle, the work of life is to develop it. So if you found this helpful, please share it. I am going to see you for a very short message on Wednesday morning next week for Christmas. Very short. This one was actually on time today, so I'm excited about that. But again, if you lost some of the information, go back, keep your notebook handy, go back, start from the beginning, write down those questions I asked in the beginning, and write down those challenge components that I talked about. Find your gift today and look for ways to give it away in the next week. And I want to hear about it. You can come back here and comment. You can message me, post it on Facebook. I want to hear about it. And if you found this message helpful today, please feel free to share it so that maybe it can help others too. All right, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what your gifts are. And I love you all. I appreciate you being here and being accepting of my cough and my recovery process. And I will talk to you soon. In the meantime, have a fabulous week and be well. Bye.